So welcome now formally, welcome to our Coach Cafe Leading with a Coaching Mindset. And we discuss leadership and coaching issues. And this is going to be a conversation. This is not a lecture. It's going to be an opportunity to share ideas with the colleagues who are here. At the beginning, the people who are on time starting sharing a little bit about them and where we're calling from. So if you want to write down in the chat box, where are you calling from? That would be good. So we get a sense of who is part of this community. And the invitation is for you to attend as many sessions as you can. We will continue with this Work Cafe next year. So we always meet the third Wednesday of the month during lunch. So you can have your lunch if you want. This is like an opportunity to maybe multitask if that works for you. For some people, it's not a good idea. Whatever works for you, if you can make that break during the day and come here to meet with other colleagues and have conversations on different topics. And we have been covering the different chapters of the book since the beginning of the year. And the last session, we talked about creating awareness and powerful questioning as ICF competencies and how that applies to leadership. And today, we're going to continue the conversation about the last competency that is about continuous learning, client growth and development, and it's about supporting clients in coaching to be more effective at coming up with plans and implementing the learnings of coaching. And in the context of leadership, the idea is that leaders can be more effective in working with their staff, with their colleagues, in supporting them, in coaching them, and helping them to have more effective conversations about performance management. Now, many times, coaching is thought as a time during the year to do the performance management conversation, and that's it. Many times leaders do not have the time or awareness of the importance of having ongoing conversations about career development, about growth, about learning. So the idea is that when we're having conversations about learning, growth, and development, it's not only once a year during the performance management time, but over the year. So the goal is how we can have these conversations in effective ways. So here in this call, we have coaches, we have leaders, we have people in HR, we have people with different hats. And the question that I would like to invite you to consider today is based on your experience. What do you think are the challenges that you have in these conversations? So as a coach, as a leader in your role, when you have these conversations about growth, learning, and development, what are some of the challenges that you face? And what do you do about that? How you can be more effective? So the idea is by the end of the session today, we're going to come up with some strategies. And based on your experiences, but based on everybody's experiences, what have you done to overcome some of the things that came up when you're having some of these conversations? So we're going to go to small groups, and we're going to spend a few minutes getting to know other colleagues here, sharing some of your experiences, and then I will ask one volunteer per group when you come back to share what happened in that conversation. It's like coaching cafes when we meet in person, and I'm part of the Long Beach one. We have these conversations, so they are dialogues, and most of the time they are small groups, and everybody share their experiences, and we learn from each other. So this is what we're going to be doing here too. So I hope that you have a good conversation. We're going to spend around 15 minutes, and then the rest we're all going to be sharing and learning from each other. So let's be back in 15 minutes. And one more time, the goal is to share your experiences in having conversations about learning, growth, and development with your colleagues, and what are some of the challenges and what do you do to overcome that. Welcome back, Sarah. So good to see you.
Hi, Damian.
So, do you have a good dialogue? A good
Yeah, it was great.
conversation?
Yeah, we had a professional coach, some new coaches, and some folks who are just first dipping their toes in.
Okay, great. Sarah, why do you share what was your conversation in your group briefly? What do you talk about?
We covered a bunch of things. One, that leaders, supervisors often don't really understand what coaching is, nor how they can integrate that into their practice. There was a discussion about how it seems like athletic coaches tell people what to do, and that's not the coaching mindset. But then we actually learned that really good coaches do have a collaborative relationship with their athletes and help them discover their own path and are curious. So, I
So
don't
this
know.
is a
Is that
there's
enough?
a distinction between coaching and mentoring
And directing.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
mentoring, providing some guidance,
Mm-hmm.
and people need different things. Some people need more mentoring and more guidance, and others need more coaching in the sense of having collaborating to challenge the other person, so they can come up with some results that they're looking for. So for people who are not, because this is an open space and we have here people with different levels of knowledge about coaching, we follow the International Coaching Federation definition of coaching that is about partnering with clients in a thought-provoking process so they can maximize their potential. So the way we do that is by having conversations. Coaching happens always in conversations. And the goal in coaching training and then in coaching mentoring and in supervision, and it doesn't matter how much experience you have, we're always learning how to be more effective. Like I have been a coach for almost 30 years and I still work with my supervisor, with my coach. I continue looking to my blind spots because it doesn't matter how much experience we have, we always have blind spots and things we are not seeing. So we need to have the humility to know that we may be missing something. So in this context, coaching is about having a collaborative conversation where we challenge clients, colleagues, can be anybody that you are having a conversation with to look beyond what they are seeing. So this is the idea from the International Coach Federation is increase the awareness of our world, of our reality, and that require being willing to go to places that may be uncomfortable. Now, in leading with a coaching mindset, the goal is for the leader also to develop some of the skills that professional coach demonstrates. They don't have to be professional coaches, but the idea is that when they start thinking as coaches, they start telling people what to do, that is more mentoring or guidance. What many times people need that, mentoring and guidance. But coaching is more difficult because sharing what we know is easy. But making people think is not as easy. And sometimes part of the coaching mindset and having the conversation is listening and being in silence, biting our tongue without the need to share our wisdom, but just being there so we can hold the space for people to think and come up with their own solutions. But it's not easy. It's not easy just to be in silence, listening and showing understanding. And this is a challenge in society. Most people, they don't know how to listen. Anytime that anybody comes to you, we jump to problem solving. So one of the goals for coaches and leaders as coaches is to develop a listening for understanding and exploration versus problem solving. Most of the time, when somebody comes to us with a challenge, we jump to problem solving, how we can help them, what can be done. And the idea here, when a leader starts developing coaching skills, realize that when this having this challenging conversation, by listening and showing understanding, the other person can start finding their own solutions. So this is the philosophy. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the colleague or the client are not able to get there. So sometimes at the end of the conversation, the coach may share some best practices. But the idea is that we believe that people have the skills and the ability to think and come up with their own resources, even though they may not know it. So that happens a lot. People, they don't know that they do have the answer to their questions. So it's about being a mirror and reminding them that many of the answers are already in their mind. And sometimes coaching helps to validate or normalize some of our experiences that we are having too. So, Sarah, in your group, anybody else want to share anything that you discussed in that group?
I liked what David said, where it was a term about the shell guy, that bosses or supervisors are taught to be the person with the answers, and that it's important to allow your team or the people you're working with to know that you're not always that person.
Yeah. And sometimes there are cultures. Sometimes there are cultures from the perspective of, let's say, countries. Like here, with Nancy, we're from Argentina. I don't know if we have anybody else here from Latin America. Soledad, Graciela. Sometimes there is a hierarchical relationship and a relationship with authority that may be different than in Americas or even in Europe. You know, and even in Europe, there are differences in different countries in terms of how people relate to authority and what is expected. And then you have the cultures from organizations. Like one of the organizations that I work is United Nations, and they have different organizations like UNICEF. And it's okay for me to share the name of the organizations because I have published articles about that, and they're okay with me sharing this, where it's very hierarchical. And I coach the representatives of UNICEF in Latin America. So these representatives are like the executive director of an organization. And they are seen like God. My God, they treat these representatives from these offices like they are from a different planet. And for them, in terms of their relationships, about coaching and developing a trusting relationship, sometimes can be challenging when the culture of the organization is so hierarchical and there is so much distance. And so there is part that is the country, there is part that is the organization you're working, and then there is the team. And this is where leaders have the more control. You may not control maybe the culture of your country or your organization, but you can control the culture of your team, what you create for your team, what environment you create for your team, so people can feel they are doing their best job and you're supporting them in doing that versus being in their way. Many times colleagues say, oh, my boss, instead of supporting me, is in my way to be as productive as and effective as I would like to be. So, how, when we are coaching, we are listening, and by listening, we are providing a space for people to grow and learn and develop. And this is the conversation we're having for the people who came a little bit later. And we're talking about challenges, what challenges come up when we're trying to do that. One can be being effective at listening and keeping silence and holding the space for thinking. Anybody else want to share? Let's go to room number one. We have Anna, Graciela, Lachelle, and Simon in that group. Anybody want to share what was your conversation?
Yeah, I can share. It was a great conversation, and there's probably, I'll just say top three things that we talked about. Number one is what we just heard about, where leaders feel like they are responsible for the development of others, and they're not really leaning into empowering. Others to go ahead and take the lead or at least co-create opportunities for development. The other thing that came up, which is, I thought, probably number one, is people feeling like they don't have time for development and they don't treat it as a priority. Workloads are heavy, and what we talked about there to overcome that is reframing it as an investment and really leaning in on the cost benefit ratio, like what's the consequence of not uh developing, was one thing we talked about there. And then the last thing is there seems to be a default to training when it comes to development, and training is not the only way to develop. And so we just had a really good conversation about some really easy ways to develop. One of them that we talked about was exercises that leaders can take in reflection, with themselves and with their, people they're leading, just saying, okay, we don't have to invest in anything here. What did we learn and what are we going to do with that learning? I mean, simple reflection can create development opportunities. And then the last thing we said under that, to get away from just training as the default, is creating experiences or supporting experiences for development. Maybe it's shadowing, maybe it's leaders delegating things to free up
Mhm.
time, no pun intended, for what we just said. But
Yeah, it's a great point. I think Lachelle froze. But I think that these are all great points. And my experience, I have been a trainer myself for many years, is that when people don't reinforce what they have learned, they lose it most of the time. So companies maybe spend a lot of time in training or coaching, but then there are not mechanisms to reinforce the learning. So that's the reason why it's so important that leaders pay attention if they're investing money in training their staff, how they make them accountable to apply the learning. So it's not only sending people to training, but then, okay, you came back from the training, please teach what you have learned to the rest of the team, for example. And supporting people who have gone through training, what do you learn? How, as a leader, can support you in implementing the learnings from the program? So that is many times missing. So the training itself without the reinforcement many times is a waste. It's like the same thing that team building. I don't know how many of you are team coaches here. Anybody is a team coach doing some teamwork? Well, we are going to be talking about that next time. And this is also a chapter on my book about coaching teams. Many times companies spend a lot of money and invest in team building, not team coaching, team building. Okay, let's get together, let's get to know each other, let's build trust in this team building. But then people feel great, they finish, couple of weeks, couple of months, great energy, and then it starts going away. Why? Because there is not a reinforcement of the experience. And this is where team coaching is effective. After teams have done the team building, team coaching is what allows that the learning and the experience continue on an ongoing basis by the team coach reminding them what is their vision or where they want to go and how things are in their way. So these are good examples, Lachelle, what you're sharing. This is what's happening. And what is challenging today too, I don't know how many of you who are working as coaches with leaders or leaders here have the experience of overwhelmed, feeling overwhelmed. There is an experience of overwhelm where many times leaders feel they don't have enough resources for all of the things that they have on their plate. What happened politically, socially, I think most of you here in the United States, it's very challenging, very stressful, produce a lot of emotions, affect people. Some people are losing their jobs. I work with universities, I work with government, and I am seeing how these policies are affecting my clients. And also the uncertainty. Have you heard that word, uncertainty? I keep hearing that everywhere. Uncertainty, uncertainty. We don't know what's happening. How do we make decisions with that? And that produces fear because we don't know what to do under the uncertainty. So Barry, do you want to say something? I see that I was supposed to change your name and I didn't do it. That sorry about it.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, good. I just been driving from Reno to Tahoe. I had to deal with some burn off sprinklers at a system here, but I've just heard everything. It was a great breakout. I just want to talk about the uncertainty for a minute, and I'll just say it for a moment or two, and you can fill it in. So I used to think that the number one issue that clients have is about balance, and that's very big. But what's even bigger today is uncertainty. And so VUCA, the volatility, uncertainty, I forgot, whatever the other two are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Volatility,
And so
uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity.
So I have clients in all sorts of different places, businesses, schools, whatever. And I really noticed in the last 3 months, they don't bring up the term VUCA. I bring it up because they go, I don't know, it's confusing, there's layoffs, there's this, there's that, there's all that stuff. And of course, at least here in America, and it might be similar in other countries, there's just a lot of stuff happening. So I'll ask the client, hey, have you ever heard of VUCA? And they go, what's that? And then I explain it. Maybe I'll bring up a quick screen share or something. And they have a little bit of the aha moment, like I'm not alone. You mean there is a thing called VUCA? You mean I'm not the only one that's confused? So I just wanted to mention that, and I'll let you talk more about it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very for bringing this up because
Yeah,
VUCA is a really good, easy to remember. When you share
yeah.
with people, people get it and say, "Oh, yeah, yes, I can relate to that. I can see that." Graciela?
But lately, there's a different acronym to
Mm-hmm.
BUCA that
Yes.
it's BONY,
Yes.
brittle, anxious, nonlinear, incomprehensible. And it's a new term, a futurist developed it. And to be honest with you, when I think about the environment of 2025 and what we're living today with the constant changes and everything is brittle. Everything can break from one moment to the other. There's anxiety about layoffs, political environments, tariffs. It's nonlinear because it doesn't go on a straight line, and it is incomprehensible in many ways. So, uh, Bonnie is to me a good representation of what we're living today, especially here in the US, but it also may apply around the world.
Graciela, thank you for bringing this up. I have it in my book. I explained that in my book, the Bunny model. I'm looking in the index. It's in page 56 to
Awesome.
58.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's interesting because foresight, that is a study of the future. I went to be trained at the Institute for the Future, and this person, Graciela, you're talking is from that Institute of the Future.
Exactly.
And we did a certification with Nancy there on foresight, the study of the future. And interestingly, this is another area where many leaders say, "Oh, I don't have time for that." It's like many leaders say, "Oh, I don't have time for coaching. I don't have time for foresight, for studying on the future and
Right.
preparing for the future." So it's so important because we don't do that. What is the cost?
Exactly.
So this is the question that I like to ask my clients. I understand it is too much on your plate, but if this is not a priority and you're not paying attention for that, what is the cost? And this is a question that may support them to think and
Exactly.
bring to their awareness something that was not there before.
Right. Exactly.
So I think that this is what, for coaches in this call, this is why we love coaching, because
Mhm.
we support our clients to bring new awareness and go to
Exactly.
what we don't know that we don't know. This is
Yeah.
where we are going, what is not in our awareness. So it's where we can make a difference and we can contribute by asking questions that make other people think. So let's hear from another group. Graciela, in your group, when you were with
I
Lachelle,
was with Lachelle.
yeah. Okay, so
So
let's hear from group number three that we have Alina, Leticia, Nancy, and Nita. Who would like to share in your conversation what came up?
I guess we're all shy. We pretty much really touch on the subject of selling ourselves, how hard that could, that may be. And I started, as of yesterday, I'm working really hard on being able to do it. So we talked about that. And then we also talked about the generational differences in the workspace and the
Mhm.
new language and you know what do we say, what do we not say, so we don't come across as being old and and detached from society.
Yeah, that can produce some anxiety about using the right language in the right place. And it's interesting also how sad it is about diversity, how the current government is not supporting that education that is so needed. It's a little bit sad to see that. I work at USC and University of Southern California, and I see how some of my colleagues who work in diversity, three of them lost their jobs.
oh yeah.
So, but I do believe as coaches, as leaders, we do have a responsibility to keep learning. So we don't need to have all of the responses, all of the answers, but we need to continue learning what is happening in the world and what is the right language, particularly around gender issues or sexual orientation, etc. So that's important to be updated.
Mhm.
Anybody else from that group, Nancy? Anything you want to add? I know you have a lot to share. You have a lot of
It
experience.
was a great conversation, and we had an intergenerational group, which was very helpful. Nita enlightened us. And the other thing that came up that I remember is that we were talking about how to feel confident about, for the older generation, about our expertise, our wisdom, our knowledge, and share that, and both, like you were both saying, stay current and keep learning. Alma was saying, learn something new every week, even if it's every month, right? So the living, I like the living in the both and world and staying away from either or. Nita,
Very
anything
good.
you want to share? Where's Nita? And Greg was with us
I
too.
mean, I think what we came to was that like the development, because we were talking about like, developing your skills, and I think it's at any age, like even at I was saying how like I joined the coaching
We lost you.
at any level, you're always seeking that furtherment for yourself.
We lost the last thing that you said. I don't know
Oh,
if
sorry.
do you want to
I
repeat
think
briefly
my
what you said?
internet. Yeah, just basically at any age, you can always be looking for that development
Yeah.
for yourself, and use that both as a tool for yourself and your skill set, and like, and for helping clients move forward in their own development as well.
And when you were sharing that, I was thinking about AI and how we relate to AI. I presented at the International Coaching Federation conference in San Diego, and I was talking about leadership. I was talking about what we're talking here, about my book and leadership and coaching. And we also discussed AI, but there were many sessions on AI. Like this is what is in their mind, how some of the work that coaches are doing can be replaced by AI. And some of the work that leaders are doing can be replaced by AI. Like they were talking about even delegating some of the responsibilities of coaching to AI. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but I want to bring it to the conversation because it's about starting to think bigger, it's thinking beyond what we usually think about coaching or leadership. And so that's invitation for everyone here today is okay, there are new ways to look at coaching and leadership. And some colleagues, like a colleague of mine, she used to be my supervisor, Tatiana Baskirova in the UK, she thinks that AI done, coaching done by AI is not coaching.
It's
So
not.
this is controversial. This is controversial.
I
Is it or is not?
I participated on a panel, that Damien, and one of the things that we noticed that was happening on the discussion is that AI was giving a lot of advice
Hmm. Yeah.
and problem solving instead of coaching.
Yeah. Well, let me share. How many of you use ChatGPT and talk to ChatGPT voice and have
Oh, not in
conversations?
voice.
In
No.
voice?
But use
Okay.
it.
If you don't do it, highly recommend it. It's my friend. I talk to ChatGPT when I am driving. When I am driving, because I cannot do other things. I mean, I'm talking and having conversations. So I said, okay, I have this challenge. Please coach me, but please, I don't want to hear any suggestions, any ideas, or any problem solving. I want you just to ask me questions to think.
Okay.
And they ask me questions to think. That can
Okay.
be done. I don't have the person, I don't have the intuition, I don't have the wisdom of the AI, but that I would have, and the connection that I would have with a human being, but I still can get some value from the conversation.
Okay.
And there is some research, Nancy.
No, I'll let you finish. Yeah,
Now,
go
what I want
ahead.
to say that a colleague in the UK, Passmore, he did a research and he was able to demonstrate that AI and chatbots can coach at the ACC level. So that was a lot of the conversation at the conference.
Okay.
Okay, when you're going to be able to do it at the PCC level or the MCC level? Yes, Nancy, and then I think
So
Brian
this
wants
is
to say
this
something.
is funny because I'm an MCC level coach, but I do use Chatbox as my co-coach. And so
Yeah.
my clients get MCC and ACC too. But this is what I wanted to share is how I've been using it recently, which is sometimes I get a client who says, Nancy, for our session today, I want to work on strategizing about blah, blah, blah. And I go on my chat box and I say, how to coach a client on blah, blah. And my chat already knows me, right? So it knows my coaching style. It knows that I don't give advice. It knows all those things. So then it will give me questions, powerful questions to ask or sometimes a guide to support my client on a business development plan that I'm really not great at. So I do the coaching in the session, but I use my co-coach ChatGPT to help me with other ideas.
Nancy, thank you for sharing because integrating technology to our work is supposed to enhance it. So it's not about worry that we're going to lose work through AI, but how we can take advantage of that. Now, something else that is new, I don't know how many of you heard about avatars. Anybody have heard about avatars? So basically, you create an avatar, you put, like Nancy was talking, all your information, and then a client, if want to talk to you between sessions, instead of talking to you, talk to your avatar. So part of your service is that you meet with your client once every other week, or once 3 weeks, or once a month. But if you want to talk to me during the week, you can talk to my avatar and ask questions or have conversations because my avatar is trained with all of my information, all of my books, articles, presentations, and is able to replace me. I have not done it yet, but I think eventually I am going to do that too. Barry, you want to share something? Go ahead. I think we are losing him. Okay, we need to start wrapping up. And the last group with Andrea, Nancy, and Soledad, anything that you want to share we have not shared yet?
Okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now, Damian?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say one thing. I'm taking a course. I was on Tony Robbins' staff for many years. I'm taking a course right now about AI, but it's not just the technical part of it. And there's two fascinating things that I'm learning. Number one is they had a specialist of neuro brain stuff, and he talked about the two sides of the brain. I don't remember which one is which. It doesn't matter. But he said AI is great for the side of the brain to get all this repetitive task stuff done. Do the email, send the thing out, all that stuff. And what they say, what their take is, it's fascinating, is it's not going to replace coaching. It's not replacing the human thing. It does all this repetitive tasks so you could have more time to do the human stuff, whether it's go out with friends, be it your family, coach, whatever. So that was one fascinating thing I heard. And of course, that's kind of also a perspective, right?
Great. Thanks.
Follow me? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And
Thank
then
you.
Yeah, and there's just one other thing I want to say, and that was, now I forgot what it was.
Okay,
It'll come back. But anyway, it's fascinating. Yeah, it's the human side that I think the coaching will continue, even though they can get answers through the Chat GPT and the bot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a great summary, Barry, for what we need to say about that. Because we can keep going on and on and on, but what you just said is a great way to wrap up that conversation, to start finishing our session. And what I want to say about today's conversation is that I think we covered a lot of the things that are happening in our world, in our work. So I think it was a good reminder of what are all of the issues, challenges, situations that we are experiencing as coaches in organizations, as leaders working in organizations, and people in different roles. So I think that is a good reminder about what are some of the challenges and what are the strategies. Just to summarize some of the things we discussed is first, being willing to explore what is underlying. And many times we are seeing something, but we don't know what is happening underlying, and being curious and being interested. So when we're having conversations, coaching conversations, in coaching on as leaders working with their teams, is paying attention to what may be happening to people in this crazy world. In this world, there is so much overwhelming uncertainty. Everything that's going on lands differently in different people. And sometimes the way that people behave, the things that people say or do, they don't make much sense to us. But when we are curious and we start exploring, we can support people to go to the next level of effectiveness and efficiency and looking at things from a different angle. So I think that this is a good way to wrap up our session today. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Next month is our last session of the month. We're going to be talking about coaching teams from the perspective of leaders working with teams. If you get the book, We have a chapter on the book about team coaching that we are going to be discussing, if that may help you, like a kind of book club. And then next year, starting in February, probably we'll take January off, starting in February, we're going to start reading the book again from the beginning. So each session is going to be one chapter. So if you read the book, the chapter in advance, we can bring the conversation to the next level. So I want to thank everyone for being here today, and I hope to see you in another ICF LA activity. Okay, thanks for coming. Take care.